Yo guys, what is happening? What is going on? What is good? This is the second time I've done this because the first time I recorded it, it just wasn't saving. It says an unknown error has occurred or something like that. So hopefully this time it works. So I'm going to show you guys how to use Lightroom, and I guess I'll show you guys how I edit my photos in Lightroom as well to get that kind of moody look. So if you are a first time Lightroom user, this will be pretty good because I'm gonna go over the basics. I'm not gonna get into the specifics because that can be quite daunting. If you want to get moody pictures, this will be good for you as well, I guess. I don't know. Maybe you won't like my photos. Who the fuck knows? So yeah, let's kind of get straight into it from the beginning. The way you import the way I import my photos, I literally just drag the photo into the icon here, and then this will pop up. So over here, you're going to have the information. So this just shows what settings you use to take the photo. So I use an ISO 200, 28 millimeter, f4.5, 1/250th of a second. Now, the only reason why I used ISO 200, guys, was to overexpose the photo just so that I can show you what Lightroom can actually do if you need to fix a picture. Now, I usually always underexpose my photos just because that's the kind of look that I go for. I like to have that underexposed moody look. So yeah, I would recommend not taking pictures too overexposed just because you don't want to you want to save the detail. You don't want to, fuck around with the detail of the picture and stuff, because if you overexpose your photo, a lot of the detail gets blown out and then you're fucked. So when I edit my photos, I like to work from up all the way down. I don't kind of, mess around with the color, then go up here, then here and here. I don't know, maybe I'm just a bit OCD. Who knows? So yeah, let's start with the temperature, man. Now, this picture's a bit too like brown orangey for me. So I'm gonna bring the temperature to like, I don't know, let's say 5015. Now, as you can see here, that has affected this part of the picture. It's gone from brown to blue, which is what I wanted. So that's perfect. Now I leave the tint the way it is. I don't really mess around with the tint just because, yuck, yuck, yuck. So that's plus 11. That's kind of what it said itself when I imported the picture. So I'm just going to leave that as it is. With the exposure, I'm going to bring the exposure down to, let's say, minus 0.31. That's quite nice. Any lower and then it's a bit too underexposed. Whoops, I'll bring that back to minus 0.31. Oh, sorry guys, I just burped. It was a nice burp, thank you for asking. Now with the highlights, I always leave the highlights at 0. The only thing I ever play around with over here is the shadows and the blacks. It just helps me get the look that I want. So I'm gonna bring the shadows down to like let's say minus 35. The blacks, I used to crush the blacks like crazy, but recently I've liked to kind of keep the blacks at like a maybe minus 19 or minus 17. So that's what I normally have it as. Now, once I work all the way down and kind of get the picture like 95% of the way there, then I start making, little adjustments. So with the clarity, if you bring the clarity up, ends up looking very crinkly like a fucking picture. And if I wanted my photo to look like a painting, I would have just learned how to fucking paint. So we're not going to use the clarity. We're not going to bring up the clarity. We're going to just keep it at like a minus 3. Now, the saturation, I leave the vibrance at 0. Don't mess around with it at all because actually, I don't know, maybe for this one I'll kind of bring it down, but for now I'll leave it at 0. The saturation is where your moody look is going to come into play, because removing a lot of the color makes the picture look very, very moody. Now, I want to just tell you guys, if you want a moody looking picture, do not take a picture in the sun, because see, when you take a picture in the sun, it's just going to give you that, I mean, it's going to basically look like this, and that's not moody, that's cheerful. So bring your saturation down, but always take a picture when it's cloudy. because that's what's going to give you that diffused light and then that soft, like moody light. Um, and then that's just going to help you get your moody pictures. So now we're going to go on to your tone curves here. Your tone curves is completely separate from what this is, okay? So making adjustments to this will not make adjustments to this at all. This is a completely separate entity. So with here, I like to mess around a bit with the highlights. So with the highlights here, I'm going to bring the highest like a 30. Let's give it 30. Now the reason why I know exactly what I want, guys, is two things. First and foremost, I've edited so many pictures to the point where I just know exactly what I want to do. And when I take my picture, I take all my pictures kind of the same. So when it comes down to like editing, I know exactly what I need to do to get the picture that I want. And two, which I think is what I kind of mentioned at the beginning, when I take my picture, I know exactly how I want it to look when I'm post-processing. I'll know exactly what adjustments I need to make in order to get the look that I want. So these quick changes is basically just down to experience, because I edit pictures like every day, man. I take pictures on a daily basis. And when you get used to taking photos in a specific way, uh, the editing is pretty much all the same. So yeah, lights, I'm gonna fucking just bring that up to like a 9. I'm not too bothered with that. Your darks, I'm gonna bring that down to like -15, -16. Shadows, let's bring that to let's say 18, -18 here. So that's perfect. Now, whenever I'm messing around with the color here, I don't play around with HSL. Obviously, we're not taking a black and white photo, so for me, color is my thing. That's what we're gonna do. Now, the four main colors here are blues, greens, yellows, and oranges. There's no red, and there's no fucking aqua, magenta, and all that, so I don't mess around with those. I just mess around with the colors that exist in the photo, because look, if you're gonna play around with your purples that don't exist, it doesn't really do much of a difference. So you're just gonna look like an idiot playing around with those, and you're just gonna waste time. So I'm gonna leave the hue at 0 for blues, just because I just don't want them to look fucking turquoise, Your saturation is gonna come down to minus, let's say 50. Let's go for 57 because that's where it just landed. Luminance, I'm gonna bring that down to like, I like to have my luminance down to like in the 20s, 20 ranges, but for this I'll just do it at -19. Greens, I love having, see here, look at the grass, okay? That's quite like a yellowy grass, and I don't like that. I like to have my greens at a nice, that type of green, something out of the Lord of the Rings. So let's go for +45, and then I'm gonna bring the saturation down to like a -64, just so that it looks easy on the eyes. So let's go for -64, -65. Either way, it's all good. Luminance, I'll bring that down to, let's say, -31. The yellow, I like to have my yellows, the hues at like around between -10 and -5. That's a bit too much, so let's go for -9. Saturation, I'm gonna go for about, say let's go for -34. I'm gonna be random today just because I want to be cool. Luminance, I bring the luminance for yellow all the way down to about let's go for -60 for this. And then last but not least, your oranges, the hues, I usually have the hues up to give it more, instead of like a dark orange, it's gonna be like a lighter orange, so like 21. Saturation, not that much, so I'll bring it down to like a -10. And then your luminance, this goes down to about -23. So we've messed around with that. Now we're gonna go to split toning. This is where the picture kind of takes its kind of final form, I guess, in terms of color, like the overall color, because this is what this shit does. So with the highlights, because there's not much highlights here, I'm not really too worried about this. I like to keep the hues at like a 0 because it's at the reds, and then I'm just gonna kind of give it a tiny bit of a difference, so it's not that noticeable, but you can see a little bit of the reds. Now your split tones for your shadows, the hues, I'm going to bring this up to about a minus maybe 208 because this is where the blues kind of lie, you know. And then the saturation is, I'm just going to leave it at that. It's looking a tiny bit green, but we'll come to that in a bit anyways. Now, your detail here, I don't really play around with this. If I have to sharpen a picture, I'll increase the sharpness. If you have noise in the picture, I thought that this was noise here. Don't know if you can see it. Actually, you can't because it's kind of blocked out with the hue, with the highlights. But there are mountains here with snow. It looked a bit like noise. So if you have noise in your picture, increase it a tiny bit, not too much though, because then your picture is gonna look like a fucking cloud. It's just gonna have that airbrush look, which I hate. If you find that you've got vignetting in your picture due to taking your picture a bit too underexposed, you can increase it up here. Like if you can see it, the sides, guys, it becomes like white. Now for this, because there's no lens vignetting, don't need to mess around with that. Now the effect, this is like the cherry on top of the cake for me. I love adding a bit of vignette. I do it to my videos as well. So I'm gonna bring that to like minus, let's go for minus 20, man. Let's just aim for like some crazy shit. So that has just increased the moodiness of the picture significantly. The picture's looking a tiny bit green, greener than I really wanted it to be. So I'm gonna mess around with the shadows here because this is all shadows. And whoops, all right, let's try it again. So just gonna bring it up a tiny bit, maybe down. Nope, too green. So I'm gonna bring it like 212. Maybe increase that as well. Okay, so that's looking pretty okay. Let's go for 11, 10, 9, 8. Okay. Bring this maybe down a bit more. So there, that's actually perfect. 213, saturation at 8. That is quite nice. So let's maybe dabble around with the saturation a bit. Bring it up. I like to just kind of go for the complete extreme. So either complete desaturated or extremely saturated. And then you just kind of bring it up or down until you get what you want. So yeah, that's pretty okay, I would think. Now, what I tend to do is when I'm editing my pictures, I will come back to them 2 days later because I will definitely always make more adjustments because I will definitely not be 100% completely I'm actually even like 50% happy with that, so I'm not 100% happy with it, but it takes time, man, to edit photos. I spend about 2 or 3 days editing them to get what I want. If you want to see my pictures, go on my Instagram to have a look. But yeah, it's still looking a bit green, so I'm just gonna increase the shadows here. There we go. That's pretty okay. So let's look at the before and after now. So click reset. That is before, and then we're gonna click on the after, and that's it. A lot more moodier than what it was before and after. So as you can see here. The exposure has just been taken completely down, and even the greens here have just darkened a lot more. So yeah, man, like I'm still not quite happy with how desaturated it looks now. That's, I think, a lot more better, I think. Yeah, that's a lot better. But yeah, guys, now if you're a fan of, like, you know, doing your editing on your faces and stuff, you have your adjustment tool here. You've got the radial filter, graduated filter. You got your red eye correction. This is what I kind of mess around with if, you know, someone has a spot, I need to get rid of it. And obviously you got your cropping as well that you can mess around with. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, like, comment. Let me know if you want me to do something else, if you want me to go into more specifics, if you liked the video, if you hated it. I don't really care. Just leave a comment, and I really hope you enjoy this video, man. Getting into Lightroom is fairly easy, and now you have this video that you can watch as well if you need help. Have a good day, guys, and remember, subscribe. Peace.